That's the question I was trying to ask. What factors are we using? If we didn't have capacity in Utah. So do we plan, are we oversight everything just in case somebody decides to want to go ahead?
So that's why.
I got a little thing from the Prince of.
I think. I'm surprised. That was kind of cheap.
I also think that the deal about I re-insulated my house a few years ago. And I saved my kid in relatively short time. Utility costs. She increased utility costs today. Making his house saves that home. They cost him $500 or $1,000 up front. Let's go.
But it doesn't take long.
It doesn't take long to get that
Your number working yet?
What?
Your number?
I did. It just took me twice,
Okay.
but I got in.
That's good. I didn't know. If
I
it
have to
was.
learn the push-it.
Yeah, you gotta like really lean into it.
No, it's fine.
I'm still working on the
That's probably good.
push-pull. Not be confused with the business.
I'm good.
for you to. Very sorry.
No, it's not your fault at all. Nobody's fault.
Oh, was it a work meeting?
Okay.
One of the guys that's coming, he's gonna be our CFO. He's got like 15 kids. So the son says, "Yeah, I can see that really enjoys what she
Okay. Yep. Good afternoon and welcome to the Belton City Council meeting for July 26, 2020. Tonight, the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States flag will be led by Mayor Pro Tem David K. Lee. The pledge to the Texas flag will be led by City Manager Sam Listy, and the invocation will be given by Councilmember Craig Pearson.
All right, join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Join me in prayer. Father God, we come to you in Jesus' name. It's our desire to do your business as it relates to this city, to do that which would bring you honor and glory by taking care of the least of these and by being fair and to all as best we can. So Father, we ask that you would lead and guide us in just that way. Help us know when to speak and when to not. And may your will be done in all of this. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Call this meeting to order. First item on the agenda is public comments. I don't think we've anyone signed up for regular public comments. I will make two brief ones. First, please keep Fire Chief Fontenot in your prayers. He is in the hospital, has some medical issues going on. We want to remember him. And I also want to, on a brighter note, Joel Guzman, just want to give a shout out to you because we received that big grant that's you've been working so hard to get the was it $2 million something to expand wastewater and sewer, et cetera, out at our wonderful Superfund site, Rockwool. So thank you for all your work on that. We really, really appreciate it. Items 3 through 6 on the consent agenda, considered to be routine by the council and may be enacted by one motion. If discussion is desired by council, any item may be removed prior to voting at the request of any council member, and it will be considered separately. Item 3 is to consider minutes of the July 12th, 2022 council meeting. Item 4 is to consider an appointment to the SitCog Executive Committee. And we are pleased to announce that Stephanie O'Banion will be stepping up and replacing Mayor Mayor Pro Tem David Lee on that committee. He's still got plenty of other opportunities for service and doing some other things as well. But thank you for being willing to step up and do that. Item 5, to consider a resolution authorizing the submittal of an application to the Texas Parks and Wildlife Community Park Grant Program for a new community park on the block bounded by Avenues I and J and South Hughes and South Davis Streets, the location of the old Belton Standpipe. And item 6, to consider authorizing the purchase of vehicles for the Belton Police Department. Does anyone wish to pull any of those items?
I move we approve the items on the consent agenda.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second to approve those items. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. Hearing none, those items pass unanimously. Item 7 is planning and zoning to hold a public hearing and consider a zoning change from agricultural A to planned development mobile home district PDMH on approximately 6.422 acres located at 2061 Circle Oak Loop, generally north of Interstate 14. Ms. Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. How's everyone tonight?
Super.
Good. All right. So here is the location of this property. It is off of Interstate 14. It is just east of George Wilson Road. Here is that development. Here's a zoomed in look. As you can see, it's developed with mobile home park. This park existed prior to our annexation, which was in 2006. All right, so here is a zoning. This is zone ag, similar to the other surrounding properties that were also annexed at the same time. Across the street is commercial 1, and that's where the funeral home is. The owner of the Emerald Oaks Mobile Home Park submitted this application to bring the park into compliance with the zoning requirements. There are currently 19 homes at this park, and there are 2 used recreation vehicles that stored at the location. This went to the planning and zoning as a just straight mobile home park. However, the planning and zoning recommended that we cap a density because the mobile home park allows for 20 units per acre, and it seems a little excessive for the site. So the owner looked at the original plans, and there were 44 homes permitted at that time. So he decided to set that cap at that limit. So for the allowable land use, the planned development mobile home park would allow for what the applicant is proposing, but any new homes that would go into this area would need to be reviewed by staff for compliance and also by staff at Bell County Public Health Department for their sewage system. For area requirements, the lot exceeds the minimum requirements for the mobile home district, which requires a minimum of 5 acres and a maximum of 25. This lot is 6 acres. For the density, the PD will set it at 44 lots or 7 units per acre. Code enforcement has been doing some enforcement of this. There is a mobile home ordinance that's adopted by our city code of ordinance, chapter 12, which requires a park to have an annual permit. With that, staff started doing some enforcement, and this has been the results of the enforcement. The owner has just shown a positive step that he's willing to work with the city to bring this into compliance. But the approval of this would not alleviate the owner from having to meet the requirements of our city code of ordinance. So those requirements are still in place. For the future land use map, this is identified as a small scale commercial use. However, again, this is an existing use from annexation. Notices were provided to property owners within 200 feet, and we received no letters of support or opposition for the zoning. The Planning and Zoning Commission heard this item at their meeting on the 19th and recommended approval of this requested zoning change from agricultural to planned development, mobile home. Development must comply with all applicable standards, and the development should also comply with the City Code of Ordinance, Chapter 12. And lastly, we want to also make sure that the Bell County Department approval for the on-site sewage facility is required before any new additional placement of mobile homes is allowed a year. With that, I will be happy to answer any of your questions. I don't see the applicant here at the moment.
At this time, we'll open the public hearing if anyone wishes to speak for or against the zoning change. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and open it up for council deliberation.
How does it work to make sure that, what are the mechanisms in place to make sure that they comply with the Bell County Health Department sewer before they're allowed to put more mobile homes on there?
Well, when we issue a building permit for a new house, we often check with Bell County to see if there has been a permit issue with them. So we will communicate with Bell County to ensure that enforcement is done.
So we have to have a permit for each new house.
Correct.
Very well, thank you.
I move we approve agenda item number 7 as presented.
Second?
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. Item 8, to hold a public hearing and consider a zoning change from single family to SF2 zoning district to University Campus 1, UC1 zoning district on approximately 0.139 acres located at 113 East 9th Avenue, east of North Main Street and west of Northeast Street. Ms. Moore.
And thank you, Mr. Mayor. This property is east of North Main Street on the south side of 9th Avenue. Here's a zoomed in look. As you can see, it is developed with a detached single family home. The zoning for this area is single family 2. The adjacent property to the west is zoned University Campus 1. To the south is planned development 2 family for a duplex. And to the north is also, and east is also single family 2. The applicant has a tenant in this location. They submitted in a certificate of occupancy to allow for the spa to remain at this location. With that, we noticed that the zoning did not allow for the use. Hence why the applicant is applying for the zoning change to allow for a personal service business so the spa can remain at this location. Allowable land use, the proposed zoning would allow for the permitted university campus zoning district, which allows for a broad range of different uses that's related to the university, boarding houses, bed and breakfast, professional services type uses. For the minimum area requirement, the lot exceeds the minimum lot size, which is 5,000 square feet. And just a note, the applicant would be required to meet our parking standard. With this, on-site parking is required to accommodate the use, and that is at 1 parking per every 300 square feet. I've already talked to the applicant. The house size is a little over 1,200, and that will require 4 parking spaces. He has already got 2 paid parking spaces and plans to pave 2 more. With the university campus, the setback requirements are 0 for the front side and rear yards if it's a university property or adjacent to a university street. A 10-foot setback is required for a non-university property that's adjacent to a single-family structure. So with that, that's one of the conditions of the PD that we will get to a little bit later. The future land use map identified this area for generally residential uses. Notices were provided to property owners within 200 feet, and we received no letters of support or opposition for this one. At the meeting on the 19th, the planning and zoning recommended approval. However, they wanted to make sure that there was a 25-foot front yard setback requirement to keep up with the neighborhood character in this area. So with that, to implement that condition, this was converted to a planned development area so that future planners, myself included, can know that there was a condition attached to this. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions. The applicant is here. Should you have any questions for him?
At this time, we'll open the public hearing on item number 8. If anyone wishes to speak for or against that, please step forward. Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and turn it over for council consideration.
Can you elaborate a little on the parking? I think the side by side there is maybe I don't know if that's all paved or kind of wishful thinking there, but it looks awful cramped.
It is awful cramped, and they also, there's parking adjacent to theirs that used to also belong to the spot at one point. That is not paved, but that was an existing zoning prior to that. But there are parking on both the east and the west side of this property that the applicant has shown that could meet the 4 parking spaces.
And it meets our requirement for paved parking.
He plans to pay part of it that's not paved.
You said that would be 4 total paved spaces, correct?
4 total, correct.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I think long-term, as we add residences, we usually add community parks. As we see more university campus type districts and traditionally residential, we may need to have car parks. So we may need to start looking at a requirement to put some car parks. in and
Neighborhood
around
parking?
these, because there's a lot of places that have some business opportunities with zero parking. And so I think we need to, as a council and staff, I think we need to come up with some ideas on how to help with the higher density use, because we just came out of a meeting, hey, we'd like higher density use. Oh, I'm sorry, but you need parking. And so you can't have higher density. But that being said, I mean, it's reasonable request. Hopefully they can get the parking in there. So I would move that we approve the zoning change from single family to university campus here at 113 East 9th Avenue.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the zoning change. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Tina. Item number 9 is to hold a public hearing and consider zoning change from agricultural A to office 1 district on approximately 0.82 acres located at 1025 West Loop 121.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. As stated, this property is located on the north side of Loop 121, just west of the Justice Complex. Here's a zoomed in look. As you can see, this property is developed with a detached single-family home. Surrounding zoning is the Justice Center is planned development commercial highway. South of this is all agricultural land. To the west of this is planned development office 2. And then just north of that is a little bit of single family 2. The applicant is the current owner of the property, which is under contract for sale. The future owner plans to operate a real estate office from this location and requested the zoning change. The proposed use will be allowed in the Office 1 zoning district, and the lot exceeds the minimum requirements for the Office 1 district. The future land use map indicates this area for commercial use with a commercial commercial corridor overlay. Notices were provided to property owners within 200 feet, and we received no letters of support or opposition for this item. The Planning and Zoning Commission heard this item at their meeting on July 19th and recommended approval of the zoning change. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have, and I don't see the applicant present.
Thank you, Tina. At this time, we'll open the public hearing. If anyone wishes to speak for or against the zoning change on item 9. Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and open it up for council deliberation.
Makes sense to me. I move we approve item 9 as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve item 9. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. I hear none. Passes unanimously. Thank you. Item 10, hold a public hearing and consider a zoning change from agricultural A to single family 3 SF3 district on approximately 1.322 acres located at 902 East Avenue H, east of Interstate 35. Ms. Moore, one more time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you can see, this property is east of Interstate 35. There are actually 4 parcels in this. It's just kind of hard to see. But this is how it is currently. It is developed with 1 detached homes, and it is on the north side of East Avenue H. The zoning for the 4 parcels are agricultural. Just north of that is where the Crossroad Church is at the commercial highway with the SUP. South of that, and going to be part of the subdivision with this is zone single family 3. There's agricultural property just east of that. And on the west side is single family 2 development. The applicant is proposing this zoning change to allow for single-family detached homes. A subdivision plat will be required when the property develops. And this is owned by the applicant that also purchased the Griggs property, and that will be combined in that subdivision plat with this. This property is looked at for an alternative transportation plan for access to this subdivision.
Okay.
The allowable land use would allow for a single-family detached home with the single-family 3 zoning district. The property will be reviewed during the subdivision plat to make sure that it meets the minimum single-family 3 requirements as far as depth within the size of the lot, the depth, and the width of it. A subdivision plat is required to ensure those requirements are met. The future land use map identified this for residential use. Notices were provided to property owners within 200 feet of the property, and we got 1 letter of support from Mr. Griggs on this property. With that, the Planning and Zoning Commission heard this at their meeting on July 19th and recommended approval for this zoning change. Applicant is here, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have, or the applicant can also address any questions you have.
Can I just clarify something? My
Sure.
agenda says 4.56 acres for agenda item number 10. And I thought he read 1 point something.
That is what I read. 1.322 is what's on my
Maybe
note, which is correct.
If you go into the staff report, city council agenda, that shows a
yours say
different
4?
On my packet.
in the packet.
I apologize, the packet says 4.
Yeah.
4 point.
Where it says the staff
568.
report, where you give all the details, it shows 4.5.
I believe it's 1, but I'm sorry, I'm not seeing it on the map.
Just want to make sure I was on the right item.
Right. You're on the right item. It's,
I want to say it might be the 1 point.
I bet it is.
Yes, please.
at the,
Mike Aver, 1000 East Avenue H. It's 4.6 acres. There's 4 tracks in that, whatever shape you call that. And as Tina stated, it's contiguous to the 95 acres that we just got rezoned SF3. So we're only seeking to pull this into the same category in the rezoning SF3, but that is 4.6 acres right there.
And that 4.6 is combining multiple. So this 1.322 would have been a subset of the larger.
Yeah, what's in your packet is correct underneath, but what's written here in the agenda items shy.
Is there a legal description that we need to be concerned about when we make the motion?
Thank you.
Yeah, the ordinance is correct. The ordinance at 4.568 acres is correct,
And the staff report is
and
also
the staff
correct.
report is correct.
Okay.
John, thank you for pointing that out.
Good catch.
At this time, we'll open the public hearing, and I know Clarence Griggs has signed up to speak to public hearing. If you would state your name and address for us, sir, and hold it to 3 minutes.
I can't hold it. Clarence Griggs, 2214 Westlake Drive in Austin. We just think this is a great addition to the 95 acres that we're already working on. We've got several new things going on as far as access points, which we know is the biggest concern. But yes, this will help that and give us a little more flexibility. So thank y'all.
Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. Anyone else wish to speak to this item? If not, we'll close the public hearing and open it up for council discussion.
It makes sense, but I don't mind recommending this. I would like to go ahead and recommend approval of this item.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the item. All those,
Yeah,
With-
and I want to make sure that that is a residential district on approximately 4.568 acres located at 902 East Avenue H, generally east of I-35 on the frontage of East Avenue H.
good catch. Thank you, sir.
Second remains.
Okay, incorrectly described as 1 point. I don't have it.
On the agenda.
1.322. Yeah.
Second's good.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve item 10. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you for coming. Item 11, consider a final plat for Skyview Edition compromising 53.04 acres located at the southwest corner of Interstate 14 and West Loop 121.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You guys might remember this from a previous zoning case, and that zoning showed commercial 2 along the 14 and Loop 121 crossroad, and a little further down, commercial 1, retail also along the Loop 121 frontage road. The rest of the development is zone single family 3. Here is what the subdivision is proposing. It's approximately 53 acres, 196 residential lots, 3 commercial lots, 3 tracks for drainage, 1 amenity center and park site, and there are 3 right-of-way tracks. Just a note, the drainage tracks and amenity center will be owned and maintained by the HOA. For development criteria in here, it's going to be connected to city water and wastewater services. An 8-inch water line is proposed for the subdivision. Sorry about that. The size satisfies the minimum fire protection requirements. Water line will be extended to and through the subdivision toward Oak Golf Course Road to allow for connection when the property to the west develops. A 6-inch sewer line is proposed to serve this subdivision. 3 means of access is required, 4 is provided. 1 is a connection at West Loop 121 and Layla. This is a local street, which requires a minimum of 50 feet of right-of-way. The right-of-way will widen at the intersection of Loop 121 to accommodate turning movements at that intersection. Second access will be off of Skyview Drive and West Loop 121. The third access will be off of Oak Golf Course Road and Blue Sky Drive. And the fourth will be at the intersection of Oak Golf Course Road and Layla Lane. For streets in this area, West Loop 121 is a major arterial road, and that requires TxDOT's review and approval for that. For design standards, city requires a wooden fence with a cap top railing and also masonry column every 50 feet. The applicant is proposing to do masonry fencing along that area. The fence will be built by the home builders and maintained by the HOA. For Old Golf Course Roads, that is a major collector on the city's thoroughfare plan. Major collector requires a minimum of 60 feet of right-of-way. The applicant is dedicating a small little portion of right-of-way to meet their obligations for the right-of-way requirements. The applicant is proposing to construct a full width of pavement with curb and gutter and a 5-foot sidewalk along the western right-of-way for Layla Lane. It's approximately 810 linear feet just north of that, just north of Blue Sky Drive to satisfy their perimeter street requirements. You will soon hear about a development agreement next that goes with this to look at city contributions, cost share between the city and the applicant for Oak Golf Course Road. The city design code again requires a fence, wood fence with a cap top railing along the collector road. The applicant is requesting to construct that, but that would be done with the homeowners and maintained by the HOA. Internal streets are all local streets with 50 feet of right-of-way and 31 feet of pavement, curb, and gutter. Drainage plans have been reviewed for this. The drainage tracks B and D will be owned and maintained by the HOA. For parkland dedication, the applicant is proposing internal private, neighborhood park consists of 2.47 acres. The proposed improvements will be over $150,000. We think that is, in our opinion, satisfies the requirements for a parkland dedication contribution. With that, the Planning and Zoning Commission heard this agenda item at their meeting on July 9th and recommended approval of the subdivision plat with the following conditions: approval of alternative parkland compensation to allow for the private improvement in lieu of parkland dedication and fee, and completion of staff comments, which is actually for just a written approval from TxDOT on this development. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have, and the applicants are here if you have any questions for them.
Thank you, Tina. Questions for Tina, comments?
In the comment section. Yeah, well, I asked after. Or is
We
it-
don't
know.
No, we don't know. Oh, yeah, okay. So, so if on the view, it showed two big opening, and I didn't overlay that with the map, but I'm assuming there's the pond and there's this really nice cluster of oak trees. I'm guessing that's what we're preserving. I figured that's what it was. I live close there, so I've been seeing, it's like, what's going on there? Oh, this is what's going on there. So this is great. And the second question I have is, you said that there's a requirement for a privacy fence along where is that?
Yes, there's two. So one along Loop 121, they're putting a masonry fence along the residential area. And also on the back end off of Old Golf Course Road, they're putting in a wooden fence in the back area.
And you said that that's a requirement of the city, that subdivisions have a privacy fence?
It's a requirement for the design manual based on the type of roadway that they're adjacent to.
Okay,
Because of 121, is that right? Yeah, okay.
okay. Yeah, I was just curious because there are some subdivisions that we have that have open lots, right? They don't have privacy fences. And so I was just curious if that's River Place is an example, right? You drive into River Place, a lot of the homes are they're open and clear. Anyway, that's why I was just curious where
So-
those were.
It's just for the roadway that's adjacent to the roadway.
Yep.
Internally, they can decide whether or not they want to be
Okay,
open. or not.
understood. All right, thank you.
Any other questions or comments for Tina on this item?
I move we approve agenda item 11A is presented.
Second,
We have a motion and a second to approve agenda item 11. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed, please say no. Hearing none, that item passes unanimously. Thank you, Tina. You had a lot of work to do tonight. We appreciate it.
Oh.
Section B of the same item, consider authorizing the city manager to execute a development agreement with Arrett Investments for design services for Old Golf Course Road adjacent to the proposed Skyview Belton addition. Mr. Van Til.
Mayor, thank you very much. We have some pictures up there somewhere that yes, sir, it's in the just to get there, yes. Essentially, one of the criteria or the comments for the plat includes perimeter road improvements, as you all know. Oh, there we go. And this item will implement that requirement. So I got to turn to the other page. Thank you. The purpose of this item is to consider a development agreement with Arrett Investments for design services of Old Golf Course Road to serve the new Skyview Belt addition and other properties to the north of the development. So our subdivision code requires that half of a road is improved adjacent to a subdivision. In this case, it's Old Golf Course Road, which you see on the west side of the subdivision. And it is planned to be a minor collector. The developer has proposed building the entire cross-section, the full 36 feet in the yellow area, which I hope you can see goes from future Layla Lane that extends across the subdivision north to about 810 feet. The developer's agreement will cover the area. Can you see the green line that goes from future Layla Lane all the way to West Avenue D? They've agreed to do the design on that section, the full cross-section. And that would be beneficial for us in terms of having the entire design. And of course, it helps with future development along the east and west side of the road. And it also helps us to coordinate with the proposed 12-inch water line that is already designed in that area that will articulate with the road design. It's to be done at no cost to the city. And of course, it's a developer not only to us, but to the developer and the property owners to the north, as well as the development that is proposed, no doubt. So we recommend that the city council authorize the city manager to execute an agreement with Arrett Development for the design of Old Golf Course Road from future Layla Lane to West Avenue O. And I'm happy to answer any questions. The developer is here as well.
Thank you, Bob. Questions by council members?
Bob, can you just remind me of where the Dogwick Ridge water, I thought we did a tour or something on that old golf course area, then looked at some pretty weak pipes or some issues with water. Where's the Dog Ridge line or Dog Ridge water? Is that just across the street?
in Old Golf Course Road, it's a very small water line right now that's part of our future capital improvement plan for us to upgrade. That line replacement has been designed. KBA has designed that. That is not funded at this particular point in time just yet, but it is in our future CIP. So this is the beginning steps to
Take over?
get that upgrade done. No, this is our water line. This is part of what we acquired from Dog Ridge in the past, basically. So the developers agreed as this development is getting underway to provide, full street in that area in the middle, and then design the street from the yellow line all the way up to Avenue O. And we feel like that's a good exchange, basically, to get this underway and begin the phasing of this development. And that water line replacement will come sometime in the future. We just don't have it funded just yet. It's in the future CIP.
So we design it and build it from Layla North, but it just stays the same through the rest of the development to the south, but that looks to be a fair deal.
We believe it is, yes.
Okay.
And there's other development opportunities to the north that other future improvements of the road will come. And certainly when future development to the north occurs, the water line replacement will occur. The developer is, as I believe Bob or Tina said, extending water lines through the subdivision to get to Old Golf Course Road, 8-inch lines that will then be extended to the north as development occurs to the north. So phased approach, but systematic and consistent with our master plan.
And inclusive of all parties. I appreciate that.
Sounds like a good deal.
I move we approve agenda item 11B.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve agenda item 11B. All those in favor?
You good, David?
No, I was
I'm
just
sorry.
gonna, we'll vote and then I'll say it.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
That's okay.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. Yes, sir.
The development looks great. I didn't even know they had dirt out there. There were so many mesquite tree or that's cedar trees and stuff. When you guys figured that out, it's like, wow, this looks awesome. I didn't even know it was here.
It's going to be an improvement. Thank you, Bob. Item number 12.
I'm good.
Thank you all. Item number 12, to consider a final plat of Leon River Estates compromising 50.601 acres located north of East 24th Avenue and south of Mystic Meadows Drive. Tina Moore.
Just 1 second. Thank you. All right, so here is the. Okay. Thank you. Here is this development. It is located on the, it is located east of North Main, just south of the Mystic River subdivision and north of the Heritage Park location. As you can see, this property is zoned agricultural. The applicant is proposing, this is approximately 51 acres. He's proposing 1 block and 4 lots at this location. Water and sewer, water line will be extended as a public water line, a 6-inch public water line that would be extended to serve this area. There will be adequate fire protection requirements met. Due to the large size of the lots, the applicant is opting to install on-site sewage facilities that will require review and approval from the Bell County Health Department.
On-site septic or,
Sep-
yeah, okay, thank you. Okay,
Septic,
Thank
sorry.
you. Oh, it's okay. I just,
Yes. What they're called.
no, I just, yeah, I didn't, no, it's good. It's just.
On-site
I think it's like a
disposal.
package plant.
On-site
Like a
disposal.
tank and the lateral lines or something. I'm sorry. Just-
Okay. There are 2 means of access provided,
Sorry.
2 means of access that's provided on this plat. The one is the constructed area that is Mystic Meadows Drive that connects Old Guthrie Drive to the Mystic River subdivision. The applicant plans on dedicating 30 feet of right of way from this area as well. The second access is off of 24th Avenue. He will connect to the public park and there is an opening there for his access. Streets and sidewalk, there is a 20 feet wide asphalt private driveway that would provide internal circulation for here. A public street is not required due to the low density of the development and also because of an earlier agreement that was made in conjunction with the city acquisition of Heritage Park. A 30-foot, I've already mentioned this, street dedication was going to be made from the Mystic Meadows Drive that is connecting this track to Old Guthrie Drive. Drainage, a couple of the lots are in the FEMA floodplain. So there are minimum finished floor elevations on the plat to ensure the structures are meeting the requirements of the floodplain. A floodplain development application will be required when building plans are submitted in. For parkland dedication, the applicant is opting to pay fee in lieu of for 4 lots. That's only $800 that will go to Heritage Park, which is adjacent to the property. The applicant is here should you have any questions, but the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of this plat at their meeting on July 19th, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you guys have.
Thank you. Questions or comments from council members?
Just if you don't mind showing the map, showing the road, because there's private, there's dedicated, there's this and that. I just would be good to see what's what.
And how Mystic,
And how does Mystic, because you mentioned Mystic, but I didn't see a thing with Mystic on your map.
Mystic Meadow Drive. flows.
This is Mystic Meadows Drive, actually. That is,
No, Meadow.
So it doesn't tie to the other development.
it will, there have shared access to that when the future phase of that develops. That was the second access that was proposed for the subdivision originally.
Okay. Okay. And the city, is there any city road here?
Not internally. This is all private access for the residents over here. A public road is not required due to an agreement that we made for acquisition of Heritage Park. Again, these are largest size lots. So no public roads.
Right.
10.
10.
10
When we
lots.
purchased Heritage Park and made the negotiated this with Glenn Hodge, the discussion on our thoroughfare plan at the time showed a collector street running through this area, basically a north-south street connecting into Park Lane, essentially an extension of Park Lane. The discussion was the idea of this being very, very low density, whether that was needed or not. The agreement and the letter that you have in the packet basically says if 10 lots or less are developed here, there's no need for that collector street. So what he's doing here is providing 4 flag lots, basically, with an access along that area, water line, fire hydrants, with an access essentially at Guthrie at the north end and at 24th Avenue, which has recently been built. Of course, in the park, we'll build Park Lane extension all the way down to its existing street right now. So what you have coming in off of Guthrie, this plat is dedicating 30 feet of right of way on what's essentially called Mystic Meadow Drive. There's another 30 feet that's already been dedicated just to the north of that will provide access to the balance of the property to the north.
Be really good to highlight what you're saying, because you're saying north of that and this and that.
Can you,
And I
can you
just,
point that
I
out?
just,
Mystic Meadow, go, this is not a very,
Put this one.
go to the other drawing.
There you go.
Right, no,
Not this one. I'm thinking north
that's,
of
that's
that.
probably the best one, right?
Okay.
We have one in our packet that has Mystic Meadow
It
Drive. on it.
does.
It's real tiny. bottom left.
But it's there.
That's what brought up the question.
Yeah.
Correct.
Can you-
There is a little street that connects, sorry, right here, that's Mystic Meadows.
Mhm.
So that is where that access is coming.
And where's
from.
the other additional?
The additional 24?
Is at the south
On the
end,
hill.
south end.
24th and Park, the Hammerhead right now.
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This would be right here.
So
and
that
they're all
entire,
30 feet. So what's a standard? I'll just jump to the end instead of just nickel and dime on. I think long-term, if I'm thinking 100 years from now or 50 years from now, I look at a state drive and what could have been an extension of Loop 121 and Lake Road, what all that stuff. If you think about where you dead end there at HEB, if at some point the city would have just created at least a path to say, at some point, we might take this thing and go straight. Potentially, at some point, you could have taken, because if you're there at HEB and you decide you want to go to Temple, you go, well, do I go up to 317 and go around that way, or do I go south and hit 6th? And anyway, there's not a good way to get out of Belton. So in the same way, in this area for local circulation, as things develop, it would make sense that we would have a road that would parallel Leon River. And I think the concern about the 10 lots was really, it's not whether the street should exist, but should the burden be on the developer to build that street? Because if it would have been more than 10, we would have required them to dedicate the right of way and build the street. And so I think we will box ourselves in. So I think we need to have a dedicated right of way, right? Or at least put something where it just prevents building on it. And I don't know, it's, am I making sense?
Yeah.
Where we, in the future, if we decide that, because at some point, somebody's going to be playing, their kids are going to be playing over there, and they're going to take their bike and they're going to want to ride down to the park. And they're going to have to go up 317 all the way out to 2305 and come, maybe not that far, but they're not going to have a way to get to it, even though they can see it. And at that point, we may want to spend our money to put in a city street.
Doing that, making that agreement is that when you go north, you would have had this major thoroughfare coming out into a gated subdivision. That was the only outlet.
Right.
And that wasn't doable. I mean, that subdivision, Mystic River was already there.
But I'm just talking about the people that live in the subdivision.
Well, I know, but
because our intention was
if it
to
goes
have
one way, we
circulation.
come back the other way. And, they may very well not want all that traffic coming that direction.
But the problem is we had a moving target. So they were planning on doing this big development all the way down, and then they decided we're going to cut it short. And so now we get another developer, and it's just like the shared access easements on Lake Road. You get this developer and that developer. Well, you got a curb and you can't even get over to this. And now we're going to have one developer and another developer, and the kids can't ride their bike down to the park. No problem with the development. I think it's great. I just think that needs to be like an estate drive at least. It doesn't have to be like a boulevard with hike and bike trails and 1,000 cars going up and down. But it makes sense that that's a city road. It's like River Place, like you can't get to the apartments because we try to ensure circulation. Anyway.
But to his point, we don't have to connect all the way into the gated community. We could connect to Mystic Meadow Drive. Correct?
Well,
and that
there's a thing that when that develops, there's a thing.
There's going to be a gated community, so it's going to be blocked as well.
the 4 lots is gated.
The 4 lots will be gated as well as Mystic Rivers.
So we're gated on both ends.
The HOA takes care of the road internal.
But it blocks, just like I was saying with this state, because we did this, now you can't get from here to there. And I just think we
are limited park access.
And that, I don't think that's on our thoroughfare plan, is it?
It was.
Although it would have been a good idea.
It was.
With the gated community at 317.
Yeah, but the thing is, it was, but
I see his point.
Yeah, sure, I certainly do too.
David made the comment of spend our money. Down the line, we could spend our money to move the Mystic River Gate if that other subdivision, if the rest of it never comes to fruition, because there is a gate structure already in place, but no gate when you turn left off of that entrance.
I just think we should reserve the right. I reserve the right to, if we need to at some point come in and do it, that we can.
I did Guthrie do.
Yeah, just give you the internal circulation like all of our developments.
We made.
Yeah,
We made this agreement with this, not this developer, but with the previous developer. They looked long and hard at building that road, just like you're talking.
Well, we made the agreement because of it didn't make financial sense. It's not that it didn't make community sense, it didn't make financial sense, and we're blending the two.
Yeah, there was a judgment made clearly in the purchase of the property that the Mystic River development could function down to Guthrie. And this development could operate independently of public street access with connections at Guthrie and at 24th Avenue, basically without a public street running through the development. They do plan to build a private drive on the west side of the property to provide access to those 4 homes. But there is not a provision in the plat before you to have that be a public street. That's not in the plan before you tonight.
Part of the density that was required of this tract in order to substantiate the road that would have to be built would have been turning out, I don't remember how many lots there were, but it was a significant number of lots on either on the Guthrie or through Mystic River. And I'm just saying that was the thought process. The north end won't handle a dense development on that track.
No debate on that. We're just talking about driving down the state drive and my kids riding down to the park.
What I'm telling you, you can't make that person give us that. He has an agreement with the city that he can do exactly what he's doing. We made that agreement. Now,
One project that is not resolved yet is the Mystic River
Do
portion,
you
the
have a
property to
copy
the
of that
north.
agreement?
Yeah, it's in the packet.
It's okay.
Okay, I don't know what the password is, and I had it downloaded on my home computer.
Letter between Glenn and myself that was a component of the purchase of the 85 acres that basically contemplated this exact concept. Essentially just says, so long as the remainder tract, which is this parcel, is divided into 10 lots or less, the seller is not required to construct a roadway through such tract as would otherwise be required according to the thoroughfare plan.
Required to construct. Did I hear that correctly?
And then the second item, seller is in no way bound by the said thoroughfare plan.
He doesn't have to dedicate the
Does
rest.
not have to dedicate. We are still anticipating a resubmission of development to the north of this tract, the area just north of this site. And there've been various proposals for density and alignment, arrangement of streets and so forth with accesses through the existing neighborhood and then back through Mystic River up to the north out to Main Street. That is yet to be resolved with the potential for access again through Mystic River and then also at Guthrie. And so that'll be a density question that the council will face when that comes forward. The original plan was very low density residential. There have been various proposals for other scales of density and that is yet to come back. I believe we have that resubmitted yet.
We'll be coming back soon. They have submitted in the traffic impact analysis for the 2 access that they're proposing, which is under review.
Again, the 100 lot trigger is such that requires 3 accesses in that area. And they're proposing 2, the Mystic River connection and then the connection at Guthrie. Again, the limitations of access that you've described are, confront that development. And so the numbers of units there will have impact on the local streets in the area and present some challenges as we go through with the zoning evaluation of that.
Well, I'm not trying to be horsey. I really am not. But the way I read this is there's 2 things in that agreement is they would not be required to construct. So that's fine. And they don't have to abide by the said thoroughfare plan, but it doesn't say anything about there not being potentially a requirement dedicated of right of way that maybe deviates from the set thoroughfare plan. And I've had its city attorney say that, well, you're on the council sets the policy. I've heard that from our attorney. So when I question, I'm just questioning, why not have a right of way that at the point that the city wants to construct, a road, that we could. Because I'm just thinking long-term planning in that area. It would not be wise to not have some right of way that at the point that is good for the community to have something there that we could.
I don't think you guys arguing the merits with you, Dad. The deal is, since he doesn't have to abide by the thoroughfare plan and give the right of way, we can't make him do it. He doesn't have to abide by our normal rules, which requires a dedication of right of way. I certainly am not arguing the merits of anything they're saying.
Okay. So we could ask for it.
Absolutely, you ask for it. Now,
Or we can purchase it.
he has presented a plat that's in proper form, and there's really, I'm never saying there's no reason for denying the plat, but I mean, I don't know of a reason to deny this plat. Now, that doesn't mean you couldn't think about it a little bit or something, but I mean, I don't know of any reason you can deny him the plat that's been submitted.
No, and I'm 100%, I'm for the development. I mean, I think it's great. I'm thinking future use because of some of the other things that we've done in the city that's like, man, if we would have just thought a little bit more.
Argument is with that person, I have no idea. I've never talked to him. I mean, I don't even know who it is, frankly. But the other side of that argument is they may well not want that traffic through this subdivision. This
Yeah.
little four
And some of the
lot
folks in the
subdivision.
neighborhood don't want increased traffic through that subdivision either.
Yeah, that's a pretty good point.
We're talking about 4 lots. And I understand what you're saying about.
I'm not talking for, I'm talking about these lots and this public thing and how do you get from here to there? I'm just talking about our responsibility. There's always a tension between the individual, like I personally don't like Loop 121 construction right now. It affects me. I don't like it. Well, you live on Loop 121. Somebody made that decision. There's a tension between the individual and the community, and we're just trying to. I'll let it go.
Yeah.
I mean, I won't, but I'll stop.
I wanted to ask a question to the comment you made about I know this is a different issue, but you're talking about that second phase of Mystic River, their second connection also being to Mystic Meadow Drive, just at a separate point.
They're
At-
sharing
at
that
that same
60
point.
foot.
At
Same
that same
point.
point.
They're sharing that 60-foot.
They're sharing the same point. So we're gonna have one subdivision who has to abide by all the city rules, except for maybe a third access point. Sharing access with somebody that doesn't have to abide by city rules for the same access point. Is that correct?
There's only 4 lots here. There's,
It is a subdivision.
you know,
It-
it is a subdivision, but he's meeting all the obligations of the subdivision ordinance. Access, density, zoning, fire access, circulation, and access for each of the individual 4 lots. And he's meeting the conditions of the agreement that we made when we purchased the 85 acres.
And the lots are flag lots, so they all have access to a public roadway, which is the Mystic Meadows, which is public and it's been dedicated, or 24th, which is owned by the city.
And they're dedicating half of the road to make that Mystic River Road a 60-foot public road for the future. So they are doing that as well. So again, they're meeting all the obligations, all our expectations. Not to say it wouldn't be nice to have a north-south road there, just like it would be nice to have a connection into HEB from the neighborhood.
I do not think we would have been able to buy the park property without this agreement.
I think that's very true.
I think
Because there
that's-
were many analyses of the cost of that road to put the road in. And again, cost benefit, for the developer, that was not in the cards.
So I hear you say flag lots, and I found the flag tips basically. Lot 1 connects only to Mystic Meadows. Lots 2, 3, and 4 all have an access abutting our property, which includes 24th. The road per this survey only connects to 1 lot. How do they connect to 24th on those other 2 lots where the flag is? The flag, I'll call it the flag pole. Does that make sense? So if you zoom in, I don't know if you can zoom in. But I think to David's point, there's some merit there where we're gonna have to give up something.
So for.
Lot 4 is the only one per this survey that seems to have access to the street.
So lot 3 has this flag, that 20,
Yeah, but it
What's-
doesn't line up with so what's the plan? That flag goes all the way to our property line.
correct.
So what do we just put a dirt road from there over the curb? Or
No,
what?
the private access road that they're proposing, that is in an access easement. That will
So there's
connect,
an access easement.
Along 24th?
not along 24th, along the, I'm sorry, the subdivision lots. There is maybe
That dotted line is the
that
access.
dotted
easement.
line. Actually, that's a city easement. This line that, sorry, let me get the cursor.
Right, it says private access easement. Zoom in again. Right there,
Yes,
block
so
1 says
there's the
private
arrow.
access is the right there. See the dotted line? It's from yeah, they've got an easement
They got an
across
easement.
so they're gonna have to drive over somebody else's property to get to the road. But they've got an easement to do that.
Correct. Sorry, when I try to point it, when you zoomed in, it goes out. So I can't really point.
No, it's,
with the
yeah,
arrows.
we don't
Okay.
need to beat a dead horse. I just think it's wise to have a city road along there.
But to the point, we can approve this with consideration for future discussion on our thoroughfare. I mean, we don't have any way of changing,
Mrs.
of
Jackson.
accomplishing what we're discussing tonight.
I'm here for him.
Please.
Carol Paxton, 63095 Stone Drive. My husband is way better at this than I am, but I am here. He's a church campus, our son. I think that this entire tract was built or was developed or planned based upon the fact that that would be a private road for the people that are wanting to purchase these lots. As you see, there's significant acreage in those lots and they're wanting that private access. I completely understand your point about that, but if I understand what's going on in this area appropriately, there's 50 acres north of this area, and then there's another Mystic River development. And then south of this area is a Mystic River development, if I remember correctly. And I just don't see how you would have a line, a road, a public road that could go parallel with all of that already there. I just don't see how that could.
To the south is Heritage Park.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Public
To the
park.
south is Heritage Park and then Mystic River farther down.
Right.
Right.
It's
The-
actually just north.
Make
No,
sure
it's
there's
just
more.
on one side.
Just north.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I thought there was another Mystic River
No.
development. So, sorry, again,
It's- we're
husband's
good.
way
We're good.
better at this. This is
No,
his
we're
department. I do
good. It's-
design.
No problem with the development. No problem with the development.
Yeah, so I just, but as far as a kid riding their bike on the street, like we have kids, obviously, and other people have kids, I don't see that being a problem, but giving public access, especially when you've got developments and the park right there, I think that would become problematic because that would be a lot of access to some private homes on acreage and the river.
Thanks, Carol.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Appreciate it. Any other questions or comments about item 12? So I hear a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve agenda item 12 as presented.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve item 12 as presented. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no.
Aye. Or no.
All right, motion passes 6-1. Thank you for coming. Item 13, to consider an appeal of the decision by the Historic Preservation Commission for a certificate of appropriateness to demolish the primary facade, construct a new facade, and build a two-story addition at 206 East Central Avenue located in the downtown Belton Commercial Historic District on the north side of East Central Avenue, west of North Penelope Street and east of Northeast Street. Ms. Moore.
All right, Mr. Mayor, let me switch my hat to historic preservation. All right, so here is the location of the property. It is just just east of East Street. Gosh, it's always happened. Just east of East Street and west of North Penelope Street on the north side of Central Avenue. Here is a look at the property according to the 2012 City of Belton Historic Resource Resources Survey, this building is described as a one-part commercial block with brick exterior, and it is a non-contributing building with low priority type. The survey indicated the street level facade was severely altered. Here is a current look at the property. Not a lot has changed, except for the awning has been removed. The applicant had originally applied for a previous certificate of appropriateness and a facade improvement grant to remove the awning and also to restore the transom windows. There's been an updated evaluation with the submittal for the demolition request. For that, because the Texas Historic Commission has changed their ruling regarding historic storefronts, this is now a contributing property. The Historic Commission decided that historic storefronts usually change over time, but that does not modify or disqualify them from being a contributing property for the National Register of Historic Places. So the upper transom windows and the parapet for this are both contributing features. They're character defining features for this property. Hence why the survey was updated with this evaluation. The applicant is seeking approval for the following: demolition of the south wall and possibly the north wall. Demolition is defined as complete or partial removal of the structure. So the west and the eastern walls will remain. They're connected to the adjacent properties, but he's demolishing the primary facade and also the rear facade. He's also requesting to construct a new facade and a 2-story addition to the existing 1-story with still balconies on both levels. So here is a look at what he's proposing: 3 stories, still balcony, limestone exterior, Romanesque arch windows. That's kind of similar to downtown. For demolition criteria, the commission looked at the uniqueness of the property as a representative type or style of architect, historic association, and other elements of the original destination criteria applicable to such structure. The condition of the property from the standpoint of structural integrity is what was also looked at. With that, the applicant gave us a letter from their engineer, which was evaluated by our consultants. Normally with historic preservation, it's about repairing or replacing in kind what needs to be repaired. These are 100-year buildings. We know that there's going to be stuff that's wrong with it, but the goal is to repair or replace in kind. So it looks exactly like it did 100 years ago. Also, the economic viability, when you're looking at this, is also something that is also a consideration. Potential for the property for rezoning. This is on Central Business District. It allows for several different uses, including residential and commercial, that is allowed in here. The overall determination is the applicant has not provided significant evidence of damage or instability to demolish the existing contributing facade. Staff contacted several engineers for on-site evaluation, just kind of as a review of what the applicant's engineer had provided. Unfortunately, we were not able to find someone to come out and do an on-site evaluation. However, the applicant provided several pictures that were reviewed by Gordon Shepherd with Apollo BBC. He reviewed the pictures that were provided by the applicant and his architect, and he did not see anything that did not appear to be intact or repairable in this situation. With that, the consultant also wanted us to know that a 2-story addition is possible if the applicant preserve the existing structure and do a little bit of a setback. So the existing structure is preserved, and then the new 2-story addition could go on top of that. So she didn't have a problem with what they were proposing as far as a 2-story addition. However, the bottom facade needed to be preserved and possibly set back. So there's a distinguished difference between what's historic and what's new. With that, the Historic Preservation Commission heard this at their June 23rd meeting, and they voted unanimously to recommend disapproval of the requested demolition of the primary facade, just because it didn't reflect the goals of the historic preservation. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions, and I see you're jumping at bit.
Thank you, Tina. Questions or comments about the from council members?
I understand that the engineer that's put his hands on it says it's not stable, needs to be replaced, and has proposed what she's proposing to do. Is that correct?
Correct. The engineer that has put their hands on it has evaluated and said it's unstable and it needs to come down to be,
And the engineers that have looked at the pictures don't agree.
and the engineers that looked at the picture said, yes, it might be unstable, but it can be repaired.
So I'll say from reading the letters, it felt like a measuring contest when you read all the rebuttals. But the fact that we have a recommendation based off somebody just looking at pictures concerns me a bit. And if the other guy did make site visits and is a certified engineer, as much as you can find somebody you can pay somebody to get you what opinion you want, no matter which way you look at it. But I do have a concern about just have our recommendation being based off somebody looking at pictures.
And to address that, we have been in touch with several different engineering companies, hoping that we could get someone out there. We recently got in touch with Tanya Muskleski, and she recommended someone. I got in touch with him today. He said he could possibly look at this and within a month, give us an evaluation on it.
So I guess a couple of things. One is when they took that awning or whatever down, and I saw that big open and the brick was actually still kind of hanging out above that. It's like, wow. I mean, that's a big open area that you typically are going to want to brace. So I can understand the general concern that it could come down, right? That it may not be stable. But I'm torn. I think on one hand, there's a reason that we like. I mean, that brick it's amazing. I mean, you're not going to replace that again unless you're going to be really tedious. So I think doing something creative and also supporting the historic. I mean, there's reason we're historic downtown is because we want to preserve these things, which puts some hurdles. So I don't think we should jump over those. We should just plow those hurdles down. At the same time, I think we should probably get a second opinion. I'll call it a second opinion, a neutral opinion, somebody who can come in and look at it and see what's the viability, more than just look at pictures. But I was in Austin this week, and Hilton is right next to this old building, and everything else is going 72 stories. And here's this one little thing that would be a lot better business use to tear down the old building and just move it up. But I'm glad it's still there. And then I went to this place on Rainy Street called Clyde, and it's got one of the oldest little, like, anybody been to Clyde? Anyway, there's this little place, and it's like super, like mid 1800s something. And they built a structure all the way around it. So it still exists, but they just actually built up above it, and everything's modern above it, but it's the old building is down below it. I have no idea what that cost is. It doesn't look good, but it preserved it. So I don't think there's a right answer. I'll say that but I think we should probably look at it before we just accept an opinion.
If I
on
may
the
just
picture.
make a comment, I want to say Oak Fire kind of did that. They preserved what was underneath and built a 2-story addition to that. I think that looks
Yeah,
fantastic.
it looks good.
We do have a engineer's opinion here. It's a licensed engineer. We're not just relying on the pictures, because that doesn't make sense. You know, a doctor can do a Zoom call with you and say you look fine, but you got a brain tumor. I mean, you're not going to see some things. So I don't know that should even really count. But I think a second opinion is, supported by the council. But I also want to make sure that there is an engineer's opinion before us. Correct? Is that correct?
Yes, from the applicants.
But it's a licensed engineer that would probably jeopardize if he were falsely reporting. Okay. The second question I had was, I was part of the survey process when this was identified as a non-conforming building. How recent have we changed? I mean, I know you're saying that it was the Historical Commission that changed their guidelines, but this was identified originally as
Non-contributing.
non-contributing, and now all of a sudden it's contributing, but it's solely because of. When did we make that change?
We have not made that change. We're in the process of updating our evaluations right now. So we have hired someone to do a revised survey, but we're not the one that made that qualification
Right.
change. The
Right.
Texas Historic Commission has made that, what qualifies and what does not qualify. Because storefronts, the windows, the doors and stuff will change over time. Before it was like, yeah, all of that change is no longer historic. So therefore the property is non-contributing, but they're now saying, hey, yes, that changed, but there's other elements that still makes this a contributing property. The parapet walls, that hasn't changed within the last 100 years that it's been there. So that's why it's still contributing. Anything that's over 50 years is not considered contributing.
But the guidelines for that changed within the last
Every 10 years.
10 years.
It seems to me from a practical standpoint, when I look at the two photographs, historically, in my personal history would say, wow, that's really neat. It would be nice if we could fix that up. But then I look at what he's wanting to do. And I think, wow, that can make Belton what we want it to be. So I think we have to battle that. And I would not be opposed to the change. Even though I'm one of the most historic people in this room.
That's true.
Same.
I'll second that.
That he's one of the most historic now.
How long was the engineer say it would take for him to possibly come and look at this
He said he could have it evaluated within 30 days.
within 30 days?
I think if that provides a comfort level for everyone, that's an option.
Yeah.
See-
I mean, I'm trusting of the professional, but I think I'm supportive of a second opinion because I don't want to see us deny it based on this one. I'd love to see, I think we'd all feel better.
Who's paying for the second engineer?
Well, it's going to be the city.
City.
Okay,
I think that's fair.
Yeah,
I do too. I don't
Sam,
think it should be the landlord.
Do you have an opinion on historical versus it looks historical? And how much weight does that add to our downtown if it's
Yeah.
a recognized property versus a revitalized
Well,
property?
I think I struggle with it just like the council does. The proposal is attractive and it's Austin stone. I mean, it would certainly look
Mm-hmm.
nice. Certainly, we got a HPC recommendation unanimous,
Yeah, I
and
understand.
if you ever prefer, it's trying to balance all those interests and, certainly giving some respect to the historic. I'm not an engineer, so I don't know structurally if it can be saved. And so I think I probably err on the side of having somebody else come and take one last look at it and let's just satisfy our concern. Certainly HPC felt strongly about it. TC's here, of course, our chairman of the board. And so that's where I would probably come down.
I would really like to see us have a second independent review before I would be willing to make a decision, because I've talked to some folks about the brick is not nearly as attractive to me personally as the limestone would be, but that's really not the issue here. It is historically accurate. So my thought is if we could get that independent engineer to come and look at it within 30 days, I'm sorry to slow down the applicant's process, but
we don't wanna
I'd
do
certainly
that.
feel a whole lot better about making a decision if we did that.
And remind us what the facade to the west of that looks like. What it will be.
It's very modern if you're talking about the Linneman building. But the bank used that as a drive through once upon a time. And what was there was a non-contributing structure at that area. So that was demolished, I want to say around 2015, that structure. And then the Linneman building came in much, much later, and it's very modern for downtown, taller building.
I agree it's second opinion, but to Stephanie's point, we do have and we also have a due process to do this in a timely manner. I mean, how long did we have before now to get an opinion? And we couldn't find one. That's my question. I mean, we're here now. I mean, the applicant's been sitting on this since early in the year. And I mean, so I hate to hold somebody up just for us to get a second opinion. And what if that second opinion doesn't lean the way that HPC wanted? My follow-up question would be, to Stephanie's point, this wasn't a contributing factor. It may be now. Has it been deemed that it is by anybody?
But
Okay.
it's not just that, it's also our historic consultant is the one that made that evaluation. She's the one that initially did the survey, and she is the one that's again reevaluating this property.
can change when it's historic.
Well, so hypothetically, right? Hypothetically, we say, yeah, that's fine. Could you go to the picture of what they want it to be?
Yeah, is there anything in that?
So hypothetically speaking, we were saying, hey, let's do this. You guys go do that. What's shown there is really, really nice. What if they go in and say, it really drove the cost up. We don't want to do the thing at the top. We really don't want to do the balconies, and we're just going to make one door and we're not going to put any windows. What if whatever they choose deviates significantly from what we've shown? Would there be, if we're going to say, hey, you can take down this if you put up that, what agreement would we have between us and just to make sure it's like, hey, we all agree this is what we should do?
Well, this is the proposal. This is what we call the certificate of appropriateness. We're looking at it for the appropriateness of it. If there was to deviate from this plan, the applicant would again have to apply with the Historic Preservation Commission for a certificate of appropriateness to see if what the changes that they're proposing still kind of conforms to the district.
Building permit would be based on this
So
proposal.
it'd be on that. So if it's like, okay, those windows have to be wood windows and that door has to be a wood door and it has to be 11 foot 2 inches at the center and 11 foot at the corners. We would have a document.
So
that
they have to
would
get a
describe
COA
that.
for a specific design before they get a permit.
In a historic district, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
They'd be bound by this plan with their building permit and their COA. Certificate of appropriateness.
I personally, I don't know. I personally,
I don't know where you're leaning, but if you are considering getting another engineer, you need to have some type of scope. One, how much you want to spend on it, but two, it's real easy to say is something repairable. Anything is repairable.
Is it economically?
Some, I don't know if you want to put a range cost or something, because
The risk is it can sit there forever like that if it is deemed dangerous.
You could walk away,
unsafe.
sell the building, do nothing. Conference one day.
no, it's, yeah, and that's, I think,
That's a struggle, yeah.
I could send some guys over there and get an estimate.
An estimate for the valuation?
Yeah, no, to do what it would take to maintain that structure and build something behind it. Like, no guy owns a construction company that's done a lot of stuff in downtown Belton.
Including the one across the street?
Yes, including the one
The
across
one
the
came
street.
down?
So we could, but that's not our,
I'm just concerned the position that puts you in.
Yeah.
well, I'm just saying, the way I was surprised at the structure that's there, and I looked at the brick, because I actually looked at buying this building before it was purchased, and I went in and looked at it, and I was surprised at that brick that's there on the front. It doesn't have any cracks. It's solid. So however it was constructed, it was solid, but there's a lot of the transom that's shoring it up. And there's a lot of stuff below that's shoring that up. And you look at it, it's like, where is it? I don't see any columns and poles holding these things up. So it's a really well-made brick facade that shored up should be fine. But we get into,
The process, no matter what we decide, they currently have no COA from the Texas, whatever it is,
From the Historic Preservation Commission,
for
correct?
any work. So
Correct.
whatever we do, whether yay or nay, whatever they're gonna do the building, they have to apply for a COA.
Well, this is a COA.
That's us.
This- Yes.
But that's just us. That's not anybody from the state.
I'm not opposed to the second opinion, but I don't know that we need it. But I want to be a part of the team,
well,
if we're I don't want to deny this appeal just based on, we think that their engineer may be wrong. I'm struggling with that piece.
And the time.
And then
the due
we-
process time.
It's right. And then we are going to go spend our taxpayer money to get another, I don't know how that goes. I just,
we've spent taxpayer money get the survey of the properties and to do all that. So
Sure.
we've done that. And I think that's part of being a historic town and Main Street town. I think it's reasonable to have a second opinion
It's kind of like a
because
facade grant. you know?
yeah, because we had our historic commission that we've appointed to do that, and they were unanimous.
That's a good point.
It, to support them with a second opinion, I think is important to let them know we're supporting them, but also working with our business owners to not just rubber stamp a unanimous opinion. I think it's probably wise to do that. And then we get to the fork in the road and we take it, you know?
How quick can it be done and could it be back on our next agenda?
No.
No, be a month from now, maybe.
I'm sorry, say that one more
Oh,
time.
maybe a month and a half from now, because he said 30
6 weeks.
days.
Oh, okay.
Tell them we gotta have it in 28.
I just struggle with that.
In 5 months.
Right. Ask the applicant. So.
Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Roman Esparza, 2006 River Run Road, Belton, Texas. When it was first recommended that a second opinion be done, it's now March, April, May, June, July.
That was
And
March.
now we're, and they were unable to find one. But so now I'm here on appeal. And now they've found someone, but it's going to take another 2 months.
30 days.
Okay, I have a question. With what's presented, do we feel that won't meet a historic, whatever the requirements are for historic downtown?
I would say because it's a new construction, 50 years from now, it will qualify for historic. So this would be new construction considered. Does it blend in with what's downtown?
Yes.
Yes. The stone is similar to what's at the courthouse, what's at the bank, what's across the street that was recently reconstructed that took off the plaster to reveal the limestone.
And Napoli's is doing the same thing with balcony and residences. And so, and it looks like the building next door based on pictures is probably doing the same thing. I don't know. I agree with Stephanie. I'd like to be a team player, but if second opinion is what y'all want, I think then I'm gonna make a motion that we approve the agenda item as presented, and y'all can vote nay against it if you feel.
I'll second it.
To vote to approve the COA for the proposed design.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to, go ahead.
Please clarify. I mean, I can clarify my motion.
No. I
Does
just,
John need me to clarify?
no, I think the key is, okay, motion and second for what we see here. We need to define what we see here so that way we all know that this is what we're gonna do. Because whenever it comes back, and if it's not that, then it's like, well, wait a second, it needs to be that. Because if it just looks like next door.
Is that the next step of the process?
No, I think once
This
we approve it,
approval?
it's back in city,
To
Well,
do
it's
this.
Approved for this.
yeah, but
What is this? Is
What
Are
is
we
this?
saying this design is
So
what
we still
goes on
back
record?
in limestone exterior,
Yeah,
reminiscent
yeah,
of
somebody's gonna
arch
write,
windows.
here's the requirements document for the facade. I mean, you can't just show a picture.
Okay. He did submit in construction plans at one point. That is also on file. That was reviewed by our building inspector, Abel. So there,
So do we have that?
Does it support this,
yes,
this design?
yes.
Top trim and everything. Thank you.
I'm gonna
No, and
withdraw my original.
I've heard a lot of people say that, and what happens is they do that, and then it's like, I sold it. I really looked at it. I sold it. It goes with the property, right? Not with the property owner.
Correct.
Correct.
Right, so we just need to, all I'm saying is, please
Okay.
have a document.
I'm gonna withdraw the original motion and re-recommend that we approve agenda item. What number is it? Are we on?
No, it's actually,
12:13.
technically, it's a motion and a second, so we.
Well,
have
I'm
to
gonna
vote it down.
motion that we approve agenda. I'm
need
amending
to
my
amend-
original motion
You make an amendment, okay.
that we approve agenda item 13 with the proposed design that we see in our packet and in front of us that correlates with construction plans
On file.
that you have on file to for demolition and rebuild of this property.
I will second that motion.
Let me make sure I understand that. Your motion is to overturn the decision by the Historic Preservation Committee.
That is correct.
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to clarify. So we have a motion and a second to overturn the decision of the Historic Preservation Committee. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes
No,
6-1.
and again, I don't like going against our boards and committees, but I felt in the due process of time and where he's been with this, that we owed him the vote, whether it went yay or nay and went back to another motion. I just felt this was the.
I don't like overturning Historical Preservation Committee for numerous reasons, but this building is going to, in my opinion, look better than what it would be if we maintained that building.
Yeah.
We made a similar decision down by the old jail,
That's correct.
where we made
West
the
Central.
judgment that
Yes. And it's
what
a
was
homeland.
there could have been preserved to a degree, but what was proposed was much cleaner and nicer and it fit downtown better.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason that I would vote to overturn the Historic Preservation Committee.
To them. They have one job. They have a tunnel
Right.
job
Mhm.
right
Sure.
here. That's all they're looking at. Y'all are looking at a bigger picture.
Thank you.
And
I understand that.
and one part of that picture is if this person doesn't do it, that building may sit there in disrepair for the next 50 years.
Yeah.
That's not the charge of the Historical Commission. They've done their job.
Yeah.
Now it's passed on to you with a bigger picture.
Well said, Don.
And thank you for pointing that out, because looking over the material and talking to the folks at the museum who have some experts on this, what the Historical Preservation Committee did was accurate.
Mhm.
That was the original brick. As far as we know, it was not limestone like we would like to think most of downtown was limestone. That building never was. So that's the only reason that I can go along with. This is going to look great. I appreciate your efforts and your work. Also appreciate the Historical Preservation Committee for doing what they did. So that being
Welcome to
said,
Belton, sir.
item 14 is going to be
Oh, we're not
postponed
done.
because of the absence of Fire Chief Fontenot. And as I said at the outset, please keep him and his family in your prayers. There being no
Do we have
further
to motion
business.
that?
14.
I motion that we postpone
Thank
agenda
you.
item 14
Second.
to August 9th meeting.
All right.
Thank
We have a
you.
motion and a second to postpone it to August 9th. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Done.
Let me lose.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you. Welcome to
We're
Belton.
excited about it. Sorry for the delays.
That was the specific we can get on the motion, so.
Yeah, thanks.
It looks like the picture.
We're excited about it.
We are.
That's
Thank you,
awesome.
sir.
Yeah, you better go.
So who's doing the work? Yeah.
This is the guy that owns the construction company. Oh, conflict of interest.